Alright. Looks good. Is my lighting good? Who's on? Anybody on? Able to see the comments on this thing? Alright. See if anybody starts to tune in. Oh, there we go. We got a person. Okay. Alright, how's it going, everybody? I'm me, Brock Blaszczyk, corporal retired. Used to be in 1 PPCLI out of Edmonton. So yeah, Aaron asked me to do an introduction video, kind of basically describing who I am, you know, kind of what my journey was like, you know, about being seriously injured, and everything like that. How's it going, John? How you doing tonight, man? So yeah, so we're, you know, last night I was kind of talking with Aaron, discussing some ideas, kind of going along. So, you know, kind of talk about transition, well, trauma to recovery, transition, all the way to the point where, you know, we're talking about basically to the point where I talked to the Prime Minister. So yeah, so we'll start basically kind of how it all went. I joined the Army in 2007 as infantry, of course, the greatest, the best, and the finest. And then I got posted to 1 PPCLI in 2008 and deployed with the Delta Company Battle Group in October 2009. So we were stationed in an area in Panjwai District, which was basically 3 villages, Nakane, Balande, and Zalakan. So that was kind of where we hung out as Delta Company. Winter tour, so a lot of IEDs, a lot. I actually lost 5 guys out of my company to IEDs. So, shoot. So yeah, that's basically how that went. On April 3rd, 2010, that's when I kind of, I guess, stepped on my own IED at that time. I was in between the village of Nakane and Haji Baba, which was kind of like a little suburb. And yeah, so stepped on that, lost my left leg, lost 55% soft tissue on my right leg, and then got 80% nerve damage on that leg as well. And then also I had a bunch of tissue and nerve damage on my left arm. So the only limb basically that was pretty much saved was the one that had the tattoo on it. So, you know, tattoos are bomb-proof. So yeah, after that I was basically medevaced out to Kandahar. I remember that actually all pretty well. I didn't really pass out until I got to Kandahar when we landed on the tarmac, and they're throwing me in the ambulance to take me to Roll 3, which is basically the NATO hospital in Kandahar Airfield, and then that's when I finally passed out. And then next thing I remember is waking up 2 weeks later in the University Hospital in Edmonton. So yeah, that was a pretty crazy mind thing. You know, you're in ICU. I remember, you know, kind of these nurses kind of on an intercom, like through a window, kind of telling me to wake up, you know, and kind of wanted to get up right away and spin myself over, but then I kind of saw my nub kind of shot out of the side of bed. It was kind of like, oh, game over. But you know, at that point, I kind of knew my career was over. I kind of realized that, all right, well, I guess I can't be an infantry guy anymore. Oh, I hope I'm not going to lose power here. Give me a couple seconds, guys. I'm just got to plug her in. Give me a bit. Phone's dying. There we go. I think I got it now. Good. All right, we're good. Everybody see me okay still? We good? Oh, come on now. The struggle is real. The struggle is totally real right now. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just in my camp in Fort McMurray right now. It's just a pain in the ass. It's been cold up here. There we go. I think we got it. All right. Cool. Let's try to fix this. Okay, everybody see me okay? We good? All right. So, where was I? Okay, waking up at the U of A. So, on top of all of this, when I'm waking up, I'm also really high on morphine. So, of course, it's kind of like, I kind of like to kind of compare it to basically Silent Hill, where it's really all messed up and you're seeing stuff. So, but anyways, at that time, yeah, I kind of knew my career was over, in the infantry anyways. Yeah, so it was actually pretty heart-wrenching. You know, I always wanted to be in the Army. I always wanted to be in the infantry ever since I was a little kid. You know, of course, being a kid, you toss and turn some ideas, but, you know, I kind of ultimately always wanted to be in the infantry. And then, yeah, that ended. So, after that, I spent about a month in the U of A while they were reconstructing my right leg. That took about 12 surgeries. Basically, they're moving muscle around, pinning pins in places and stuff like that, trying to get skin grafts on and stuff like that, trying to save my right leg so I didn't become a double amputee. And then after that, I spent about 4 months or so in the Glenrose, basically healing up, learning how to walk. The Glenrose is a really big rehabilitation hospital. So, you know, they hook you up with prosthetics, you know, all kinds of stuff. They do really good things at that place. Yeah, basically I was kind of used as the guinea pig for the staff there because, you know, being the Army guy I am, all right, let's try something new. But I spent about 4 months there, and so basically from April till July, when I was July 7th, I was finally released out of the Glenrose, and I was still walking with canes and crutches and stuff like that. And honestly, recovery took a long time. I was still doing rehab on base, sports medicine, and everything like that. And I honestly didn't probably feel 100% till probably about 2 years later. And then that's kind of where it kind of came into play of basically what am I going to do with the rest of my life and transition. And I think transition is a really difficult topic, especially for a lot of guys in the Army. You know, it's a scary subject. You know, civilian world's scary. You know, in the military, we don't, you know, in the military you can never quit. But you also can never get fired. And being fired from a job terrifies us military guys. It did me anyways. So yeah, and that's kind of where it went, and I was kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So of course I tried staying into screen's foggy. Is that better? How's that, Steph? We good now? Okay, cool. So, yeah, basically, it kind of came to the point of transitioning into the Army. Now, when, of course, I tried staying in, I actually wanted to try to get my nursing degree and actually try to become a nursing officer, because there was a lot of chicks. But no, that wasn't the only reason. I actually wanted to stay and actually really wanted to try to help guys and stuff like that. But of course, universality of service kicked in type thing, and the hopes of that dream kind of died off. So, luckily, me growing up in Alberta, after that, it was kind of like, well, I want to get into the oil patch, and I want to make a lot of money. Can't do my dream job anymore, so might as well make the money that so I could do whatever I want. So yeah, and that turned into basically going back to school, which again, terrifying. There's a reason why I joined the Army. I wasn't very good at school, and I was actually kind of just got my diploma by basically the skin of my teeth. And but yeah, I ended up going back to school, upgrading a little bit. It was scary. It definitely was different. And then I actually ended up getting a certificate in occupational health and safety in university. So yeah, I actually got university educated, which was like, never thought that would happen. Yeah, then shortly after that, I started working up with the Suncor Fort Hills project and started being an OH&S advisor. OH&S is health and safety. Yeah, and it's been really good. It's kind of a lot of risk management. It's a lot of half time in the office, half time in the field, which works out perfect. Especially with my legs, getting weak on me and stuff. I get a little bit of time inside the field in the office doing some office work, and then when I'm good to go again, I can head out to the field. So yeah, that's kind of how that turned into. So I've been working up in Fort McMurray, where I am right now. It's cold. Kind of miss being in the desert, to be honest. It's pretty depressing in the cold. And just doing my thing up here. So yeah, basically a few weeks ago, we'll get into what basically has thrown my name all over the internet and everything like that. A few weeks ago, we decided to go to the town hall. Just kind of woke up one morning. I was looking at Aaron's posts and stuff about him and saying, hey, we need veterans to go to the town hall. And I hummed and hawed about it at work for about a week. And then the day of, I just kind of rolled out of bed in my wheelchair and rolled out to the garage to have a dart. And kind of looked at the wife and said, hey, I think I'm going to go see Justin Trudeau. And she laughed at me and went, oh. But then we talked about it, and thank God for her. Man, she's helped me out huge. I'm also terrified of her. I think every infantry is terrified of their own wives, but yeah, I'm really terrified of her. But she's a great woman, and she basically, helped me. We just kind of sat there, talked about it, and we decided to go. So on the way, I'm driving down in my truck, and heading down to the U of A, or not the U of A, it was Grant MacEwan, which is another university in Edmonton. Lion's Den, liberal lion den. But anyway, so we're heading down there, and she's writing out my little speech, my little spill. She's the one that came up with the famous ending that seemed to tie everything together, and yeah, it oddly really worked out. We got down there around 2:30. Stood in line for probably, well, we were there at 2:30, and they weren't letting people in till about 5, so we were there for a while. Ran into a security guard chick. She was on 08 in the tour in 08 there with the 2 PPCLI battle group. She was there as a reservist, and you know, my wife rolled up my pant legs to, you know, make sure we get attention and make sure we're noticed. And we got noticed, but yeah, the security girl, you know, noticed who I was, saw my medals, you know, and brought over a chair for me to sit down, and kind of walled it off with the chair as the line moved up. And we got in there, and when we got in there, we were actually originally supposed to sit in the bleachers. And we kind of got our seat, and we saw another veteran couple, an older couple, who were veterans, and the husband came over, sat down with us, and he said, "Hey, you know, why are you sitting up here?" And I said, "Well, you know, that's just where they told us to sit." He goes like, "Oh, you didn't reserve anything down on the ground floor?" Which I didn't know you could reserve things, but apparently you could reserve things at these town halls. So keep an eye out for that, troops. But then, yeah, so then they basically found us a seat on the floor and threw us in kind of that one corner there, and it worked out. You know, the PMO came in and kind of went around the room. He asked another guy who was a veteran as well just before I did, so I kind of, for a second there, I thought, well, you know, he's not going to pick me now because, you know, we're both spotting medals. But turned out nobody in our little section there raised their hand or anything like that, and my wife gave him the death glare and started pointing at me and said, "You're going to pick him," mouthing it to him. And yeah, if you see it in the video, you actually see him say, "Oh yeah, okay, you." So, you know, that's when I stood up there. When I stood up, you know, I kind of realized I was behind a little bit of people, so that's why I moved out to the front there, because I wanted the PMO to see my injuries. I wanted him to basically put a face and basically see the scars of war of what happens, you know, and the type of people that the government is basically obligated to take care of. You know, the type of people that basically didn't ask for too much when didn't think Canada was asking for too much when we went overseas. I wanted them to put a face to it, you know, and he definitely, you don't see it in the video, but when I stood in front of him, he definitely kind of tilted his head back a little bit and, you know, kind of was in shock and awe, because I'm not the typical, you know, 80-year-old veteran from World War II or Korea. You know, I'm 28 years old. I was 20 when I lost my leg. You know, so, you know, it's not just the old guys anymore. You know, the old guys were 20 years old at one point in time too. Well, now you got a bunch of veterans that are in their 20s to mid-50s now. So, you know, it's honestly, I think as veterans we need to come together. You know, and that's kind of why I did it. You know, I was tired of, you know, hearing about friends that were basically not around anymore. You know, taking their own lives. You know, nobody's, you know, and somehow, I guess, in my own mind, after I got back from Afghanistan, I guess I had this fantasy that, you know, none of my friends are supposed to die anymore. You know, we're all safe. You know, and then the ghosts came. You know, and unfortunately, you know, they lost their battles, and you know, I was tired of it. I couldn't hack it anymore, and that's why I went in front of the Prime Minister the way I did. And I think, you know, honestly, we as veterans, you know, we're used to being the quiet professionals. And I almost think, you know, the quiet part needs to go away now. You know, we need to be the professional soldiers, but we can't be quiet anymore. We need to get out there. We need to tell our stories. You know, the people in the public need to know, you know, there's superheroes walking among them. You know, some of the stories that came out of tours, whether it be from peacekeeping missions from Somalia, Rwanda, Bosnia, you know, whether it be, you know, stories from Afghanistan, you know, there's lots of guys that are walking among us, walking among the public, that did superhero things. You know, and the public needs to know about it. You know, the public needs to know the costs of what those superheroes, you know, the cost of basically what it is, why those superheroes did those things, and you know what it cost them ultimately at the end. You know, I still get night terrors. You know, it's okay. You know, I know lots of guys that, you know, that did former Yugo missions. I will talk about Afghanistan all day, but they won't talk about former Yugo. You know, we need to talk about it. You know, enough is enough. So, you know, I challenge everybody, you know, kind of make video posts about this. Tell your stories, you know, tell your stories to anybody who will listen. You know, reach out to government guys. Make them realize that we didn't think Canada was asking too much. So why does the government think that we're asking too much? Alright, so I'm going to cut her out. And basically, thanks for tuning in, guys. Everybody take care out there. Buddy check, you know. Give somebody you haven't talked to in a long time a call. See how they're doing. Alright. You guys have a good night. Talk to you later. Bye.